welcome aboard the 757 Spy flight deck. I hope you are doing well. Wow, have we had some amazing airplanes lately, and this is just the latest one, and I think this is just probably the most amazing airplane I've experienced in 5 years of live streaming. Hi, I'm Dave. Yeah, I've been live streaming for about 5 years now. I've been flight simming though since, remember that old SubLogic flight simulator that came out a long time ago? This airplane is really amazing. Of course, we are talking about the Fenix A320. It's been out for, a day or so about this point in time, and let me tell you, there is a lot to learn about this airplane. So out here, we're flying as a Lufthansa flight today, and we are departing out of Frankfurt Airport, and there are some really nice flights that we can take. There's a great place to go, several great places to go to figure out, okay, so where do you want to take an airplane like this? Well, one of the places that I like to go is SimAware, and you could also go to Flight Radar 24 and see where your favorite airline is flying an airplane like this, and try and fly that route yourself. So we're going to try and do that. We're going to try and take an A320, which Lufthansa flies from Frankfurt to Vienna. And we're going to try and do that flight. So here's what we're going to do today. Lufthansa, Frankfurt to Vienna. The add-ons that I'm using is Navigraph, Charts, and Data. I've also used SimToolkit Pro and SimBrief. There's another thing that you could use with this. It's called Hoppy ACARS. And Hoppy ACARS is a place that you can go and sign up for free, and it gives you basically ACARS service, which is, among other things, data transfer between the ground and airplanes. And there's an awful lot to that. There are a lot of rabbit holes for this. And I also, as I said, used FlightAware to try and figure out two things. I tried to figure out a flight for today, and then I also went to see what the real world is doing as far as landing runways. I do suggest that maybe your first few flights in this airplane, you not try to jump right into the middle of a Friday night ops on VATSIM. This airplane's going to keep you busy. So, as I said, this is a very complex airplane. It was created and designed by real airline pilots, okay? I know a few of them are live streamers, and they have done an absolutely amazing job, which means that for sim pilots like you and me, there are more rabbit holes to jump down than you can possibly imagine. So what we're going to try to do is do a complete flight today. This is not about the right way versus the wrong way. This is just what I've been able to make work for me. And this is flight number 3 or 4 in this airplane right now. So what is it? If you've never done anything like this, stop the video right now, go load up your flight simulator, and fly along with me. That is an incredibly good way to learn. And what's even better here on YouTube is you can pause and restart the video. You can even rewind a little bit if maybe you missed me pushing a button or something, and so that you can kind of copy what I do and hopefully get your airplane from point A to point B. Then as soon as you do this video with me, one of the things I like to suggest is do your own hometown flight. And what I mean by that is take off from your hometown airport and do a real world flight that goes out of your hometown airport to someplace. That just sort of drives it home. You see some familiar landmarks, and that kind of makes it a little bit easier. It's also the power of Microsoft Flight Simulator, because you can look down and see, oh, I can see my house from here. And then if you feel like it, we'd certainly like you to join us. And by us, I mean myself and all the other people that fly along with me over on Twitch. We call them the Spy Flights. They depart every day, Tuesday through Sunday at 1900 Zulu. That's a little bit after lunchtime in the United States. So I hope you'll come over and join us and enjoy the flight. Here is our flight today. We're going to be departing off of Frankfurt runway 18. Fairly complex flight plan, but don't worry, you're not going to have to enter all that into the McDo. Our final cruise is flight level 370, landing runway 34 at Vienna. Our flight time today is only about an hour and a minute. Flight distance is only 389 miles. So the only things that I've done is I've gone and created my flight plan, and I did that flight plan through SimBrief and SimToolkit Pro. And this is my condensed flight plan. These are my flight notes. You're going to recognize these because I've gone and taken this text file and cut and pasted this into the description below. So you can go and create your own set of flight notes. I call it the flight strip. I originally designed this a few years ago by looking at the little flight strips that air traffic controllers used to use. And this was just a convenient place for me to cut and paste my notes. Now, one of the things that you're going to notice here is this line here, these few lines. This is the flight schedule. This airplane actually does kind of like you to use a flight schedule and depart on time. And so if you look at the clock, you can see that I'm starting to run a little bit late here. So we ought to get into the airplane and start pushing buttons. We are at gate A14. The real world flight departed A14 and should be going to flight gate F4. That's another thing that you can get off things like Flight Radar 24 and FlightAware, the real gates. And so part of the fun of this flight sim thing is to fly as real as it gets. And those are just some of the things that make it as real as it gets. All right, ready to go and do stuff? These are the only things that I've done in advance. So let's go ahead and hop into the best seat in the house. And you're going to recognize this as a typical Airbus cockpit. You'll see, yeah, there's all those A320 things and a really nice new electronic flight bag. Before you do anything else, though, one of the things that I like to suggest that you do is what I call jiggle the controls. And that means just go grab your flight stick and move it a little bit. Push your rudder pedals. Do they move? Move your throttles forward a little bit. Make sure that all of your USB stuff is connected now. There was the one day that I famously did not do any of this, was on the runway, pushed the throttles forward, tried to pull back on the flight stick, and saw that that USB device disconnected. And so I had no flight stick. What happened was I was able to take off by trimming the airplane off the ground, but still, it was a bit of a surprise. So anyway, do that little thing before you start up there. Okay, first things first on this airplane. Now, these are things that the pilots would have done before they'd gone out to the airplane. So this is like we're sitting in the pilot's briefing room, and we're going to go over the flight plan and stuff like that. So you see here the electronic flight bag and your iPad, which a lot of pilots use, and it just looks like it's a great way to do flying stuff. What's the password? Okay, it's either 0000 or just touch the lower right hand, the fingerprint ID, and that's your password. And that's how you get in, and that's how you do it. So 4 zeros, and there you go. And here are all of your, here's all the stuff. So this is everything you'll need. Settings and stuff like that I've gone and done here. I've done very, very little other than really haven't done anything on this one. So let's go and look at some of the other flight settings too. And this is going to open the main application, and we're going to go to sim settings. I have changed virtually nothing here except on the controls. I do like to come over here and set my barometers, the altimeters, to linked. Basically, you get the opportunity to use airline settings. And so I've got airline settings, but it does require me to set the control to linked. Yeah, that does destroy a little bit of the immersion, but trust me, you're going to be so busy in this airplane, you're going to be grateful that you did. Let's talk about the pilot brief here, and let's go down to the to the bottom option on this. If you haven't already done the documents on this, you really need to go through the PDF here. Now, to do that, you got to click here to import your latest SimBrief flight plan. Yeah, that's easy to say. And here's my flight plan. But I want to go back to documents, and you'll see there is a normal checklist. If you have the opportunity to take something like this and find a real world version and print it out like I've done this, please do so. You're going to need your checklist with this airplane. Second thing, the Fenix User's Guide. So this is something that you should be looking at first, and this is how you set everything up. Okay, it also lets you know how many passengers. The Airbus A320 can carry 180. The Fenix model is set for 162 passengers. Go into SimBrief and set your A320 to 162 passengers. That's really nice. So what else can you do? You can also come down here, and here is how you use the Fenix application. Okay, how to do pilot IDs and all these other things. This is also going to describe a little bit of what I called the Hoppy ACARS system. So you ought to go over and look at that and set yourself up with a Hoppy ACARS ID. The link is in the description below, but it's really pretty easy. Control calibrations and setting that up. I went through the control calibrations, and I have got to tell you, it is probably the easiest control calibration thing that I've ever gone through. And it worked perfect for me right out of the box. Okay, so let's go over here to the operational flight plan. Lufthansa Flight 441. We are going from Frankfurt to Vienna. We need to be off the blocks by 13:35 Zulu. I think we're going to be a little bit late on this departure. Cost index is going to be 5 today. Our fuel, as you look down here, I keep zooming in and out because I'm usually used to going up and down a PDF file like this with the mouse wheel, and that's not. You grab it and you pinch it up there. You move it like you move an iPad. So it also gives me my gate fuel, which is 5,857 kgs. We're in kgs here today. And so all of that information is in there, and it looks really good. You could do a weather brief if you want to. Take a look at your weather information. You can also read NOTAMs for the airport too. At some point in time, I suggest go through that. It's what the real pilots have to do every freaking day. But let's go in here and start getting ready to do flying things. So we're going to go to the main Fenix app. So this is sort of like your airline. And let's go to My Flight. If you don't have it in there, I did all my flight planning through SimBrief. Click it, and when you're going and setting this airplane up, it's gonna ask you for a SimBrief username. It's gonna ask you for your Hoppy ACARS. So all of this connects, and it just comes right into this. It's so cool. Okay, so EDDF to LOWW. We are departing in 20 minutes. We need to get this thing going. So let's go to the next thing, and ground services. My ground services are set up so I have a ground power unit, chocks, and the L1 door is open. I let it connect to the jetway, and everything is good to go there. Mass and balance, also known as weight and balance, and this has just gone and gotten everything out of my flight plan, and it's put it in here. And all you need to do, unless you want to adjust these things, is hit load the aircraft. And that's going to basically do you want to do real time for your passengers, fast time, or instant? Well, let's see here. I'm going to go real time. Let's do real time. And while they're loading fuel and cargo, but we're going to come up here and we're going to do this. And this is how you start an Airbus. Battery 1, battery 2. And you see that we also have ground power set up and ready to go. So let's turn on ground power. We're going to go down here, and today is the 20th. That's an even day. So I'm going to go and use nav and logo light system number 2. Even days, odd days. There's several different ways that airlines and pilots will use these, but I just go and do odd and even days with the nav and logo lights. For no smoking, we're going to fuel the airplane, so no smoking goes on. You could come up here and do APU test. It's not beeping at us yet. Airplane needs to do a little bit more warm-up. That's normal. The airplane does have to warm itself up. We're starting up a computer, and this thing needs time to boot up too. So as this starts doing its boot up stuff, you can come over here to the PFD knob, and you could adjust the PFD knob as you need to. You could also adjust the ND. I believe that these things remember where you left them. So when you turn off the airplane at night, you're actually supposed to turn those down, and I think that that's why those are all the way up. You can also adjust your ECAM. We're going to do that. There's our ECAM. I also like to come down here and adjust flood and panel lights. So let's see. There is our main flood. So I've got that. The integrated lighting, that's the backlighting that you see. And I got to tell you, this is probably, I always think that the colors on this pedestal are just the best ever. Okay, stuff's going on. Let's go down here. This airplane uses an ATSU and an AOC system that the real airlines, this is modeled to look just like a real airline. ATSU is one of the options here. FMGC, that is your standard McDo or flight management computer, but we're going to start with the ATSU system. And I usually do it over here, but as you can see, there is some, it's kind of bright lights there. See, we can zoom in just a little bit. I usually do all of my ATSU AOC stuff on this side. So let's click the ATSU. Again, that stands for Air Traffic Services Unit. And then the next thing we're going to do is go to the AOC, which is Airline Operations Control. Okay, so let's do that too. Got all sorts of interesting things here. What I want to do is go to Flight Init. And you can init your data request. If you've got a flight plan through SimBrief, you can click that button, and it's going to go through, and I believe this goes through the Hobby ACARS system. So it goes through that, and up, there it is, Lufthansa Flight 441, Frankfurt. It even has our alternate in there. Our estimated time en route. If all of those look pretty good, then you're in pretty good shape. Let's go back over to this main. And the airplane continues to come to life. Let's go up here. Can we do the fire check now? There, now it's beeping at us like it's supposed to. How about engine 1 fire? Very good. And engine 2 fire. Fire tests are good. Are you all fired up yet? Okay, there's your bad joke for the video. Let's go over here and do the IRSs. Nav 1. Nav 2 and Nav 3, and I think you just pop them on 1, 2, 3, just like that. In case somebody decides to bring their pets along and they're down in the cargo bay, I usually just turn the cargo heat up to about mid-range so that you don't get a hot dog or an icicle dog or something like that. And then I just kind of work my way down here. Crew supply, we're going to go and just pop that on right now, and that's going to be good for the moment. Okay, while all of this is good on the air operations side, let's go over into the flight management computer side and check your nav data. They initially started sorting out a couple of different ways to do Navigraph nav data. It's all sorted out right now. Look in your Navigraph nav data control, the system that you normally use for updating Navigraph in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and you'll see that it works. Aircraft position invalid. Oh no, we've got to go home, right? Nah, just clear it. GPS primary is lost. Well, of course it's been lost. The airplane's been off. So with all of that, that looks good. Let's go and do init. And as you see here, we've got blanks. Let's go and init a data request. Again, I think this is going through the ACARS system, and this is going to go and get your last flight plan from SimBrief. Might take a second. And there is our flight route. There is our alternate. Now, I do think you have to put in your own flight number, cost index, and cruise. Some systems, some Airbus systems to do all of this, you don't, but some of them do. So we are going, and we are flying Lufthansa, and that is DLH, right? Yes, DLH, DLH. Flight 441, and there's our flight number. Our cost index today off my flight plan is 5. It's always 5 for me. I always have to go slow, never get to go fast. And our final cruise from the flight plan is flight level 370. 370, and that goes in there. Okay, next thing for us to do is let's init the IRS. And by now, the GPS is starting to figure out where we are, so we're going to align on our reference point and confirm. Now this thing will also go through the Hobby ACARS system and get your winds. So let's request the winds. That way the airplane can give us better estimates on top of descent, better fuel burn. So we just got all the winds popped into the computer, and that's pretty nice too. Let's return there, and all of this is looking good. Come on over here and let's have a quick look. Are our passengers getting on? Yeah, they sure are. So with that, we can leave this and let's go over here. And this is one of the first airplanes that I've ever really wanted to put my Navigraph data into the electronic flight bag because it works really good and I really kind of like it. So this one is nice. Sometimes they're a little hard to see. So come on down here and import your route from SimBrief. Importing, there it is. EDDF, let's do Frankfurt. And we'll go ahead and get some ground charts first. Let's go, and there's airport briefing. Yep, you gotta just move it with your hand. It's an iPad. Airport briefing. Ah, look at that. There is the airport. I usually star these things. So there's the airport. We're going to be going over to runway 18. So let's see if the taxi overview, if this is helpful. Yeah, I'm going to also get this one. And that's going to be good for this. So we're done with that. Click ground charts. Now come up here and grab a departure. And our departure today is going to be the Cindy 4 Sierra. There's Cindy 1 X-ray, 1 Yankee, Sober. There's Cindy 2 Alpha, Marin. Let's see if there's some more Cindy down here. Cindy 1 Delta. We're looking for what again? 4 Sierra. Did I just go over it? I sometimes do. You kind of get a little lost in all of this. Cindy 2 Alpha. We're looking for 4 Sierras. Let's see. Cindy 2 Lima, Cindy 2 Foxtrots. We're looking for some 4s in here. Sometimes these are really hard to find. I mean, there are so many departures at some airports. So let's see. Do we have a SID designation index? We do. So let's just look at this. So Cindy 4 Sierra is going to be chart 10-3 Echo 1. 10-3 E1. 10-3 Charlie's. 10-3 E1. There it is. Hit that star. And let's also just have a quick look at it. Okay, so after takeoff, we're going to be making a turn to Sydney. There we go, so that's good. Now let's just go over quickly to the starred page. Make sure that all of your charts are there. Sometimes I've noticed maybe I'm not clicking it right, but make sure the charts that you want are set up in your starred list. Now, coming into Vienna, we're going to come in on the Masu 2 Whiskey. So, arrival. And I think that these are not as involved. The Masu 2 Whiskey. Do we have a list? Arrival instructions. No. So this is the hard part. And these are things that you do. Masser 2. Is it 2 Whiskey? 2 Whiskey. That's 2 Whiskey. This is it. So trying to find these sometimes is a bit of a bear. At least it is for me. Okay, so this takes us to Nerdu. Okay, now as I recall, as we look at the approach chart, we're coming in on runway 34. So ILS runway 34. So there's ILS runway 34. But as I recall, here in Vienna, there's a transition. So ILS, CAT, RNP. I don't think it's there. Is it up here? There's Ballad. Transitions. Here we are. Ballad, PSAT. So here's the transitions. We're looking for, is there a Nerdu transition? Here's the Nerdu transition. A 6 left and a 4 mic. Did it give me, I think it gave me a whiskey. Is there a Nerdu whiskey? Oh my gosh, I don't think that's it. So there's Nerdu to Mabod. That's for runway 16. Okay, so we don't want that one. Let's try this one. Nope, I think I clicked on that one. Okay, there's Mabod there. Nope, that's not it. That goes to runway 11. 5 mic. Let's see if it's the 5 mic. That is to runway 29. I think we're getting close. I think it's probably it's always the last one. Yep, this is it. No, this one. Yep, this is it. This is the one we want for runway 34. Okay, so star that. And let's look down here, make sure that we starred this one. And if you star it, I also suggest you click it. Okay, there's our approach. Let's go up a little bit. There's our arrival. We're done there. Let's get a ground chart. And so there's airport briefings. There's the airport chart. So we're going to do that. And we're also going to star the parking stands. And that's all. That's really what you need. Okay, and that's good. And there's our gate, F4. So all of that looks good. Go over to starred, and here's everything that we need for Vienna. All right, so with all of this in mind, we can go to Frankfurt and go to starred, and now there's all of our charts. The reason that you do this now is because you're going to need to know a few things when you're putting your flight plan together. We know we're going to depart off of runway 18, so let's go down here. GPS primary, that just means that the IRS system is all set up, so let's go to flight plan. EDDF, departure, runway 18. We are going to be doing the Cindy 4 Sierra. So come on, find Cindy 4 Sierra. There's Cindy 4 Sierra, and if there's a transition, that's why you get your charts set up. I don't think that there's a transition on that one. And all of this is probably good. Let's go to our arrivals. We know that we're coming in on runway 34, so ILS, runway 34. Our star is going to be Masu 2 Whiskey. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing those. Masu 2 Whiskey. Now we don't have, I think, a transition here, but let's look and see if there is a VIA. And I think that the VIA is going to be MAB for November or NERDU. Let's see which one we got. This is why you go and get your charts. So go back over to low and get the lowdown. Okay, there's your next bad joke. And go to starred. And this is the MABOD and NERDU for November transition. So it's going to be the NERDU 4N. And do we have NERDU 4N? Yeah, there it is. It's almost like we know what we're doing here, which is probably scary as hell. Okay, now the next thing that you can do is you could come up here if you want to be like the real pilots, and you could go through your flight plan, so you could put it in plan mode, and then you kind of look down here, and you try and page through your flight plan. And this is how you just page through and look for. So we're going to be like the real pilots, and you kind of look. This is a little bit awkward to do it this way, but that's just the way it is in a sim. But this should. Uh-oh, did I have a? No, I didn't. I thought I had a discontinuity there. No, I didn't. All of this is looking pretty good. And if you move your mouse, of course, that's going to get in the way. There's NERDU. And this takes us all the way in. And there's our little racetrack. So we're going to the north of the runway. And then we do a, the official aviation term is a loop-de-loop. That's not a loop-de-loop, but there you go. There's our flight. And so all of that looks good. So we've gone and made sure that that's great. So all of this looks good. We have a great flight plan. Next thing I usually do is we're getting close to 10 minutes to departure. We're in Europe right now, so you got to wait to turn on your APU before. So we're waiting for the flap to open. Because if you don't wait for that thing to open, it can cause an awful flap. Wow, there's 3 bad ones. All waiting for you. It's just been terrible today. Come on, flap. There's our flap open. And so now we can go ahead and start the APU. Okay, we've got our charts all nicely set up. Let's go back over to the main application. And let's see how our passengers are doing. 121 passengers, 110 are going pretty good. We are 4 minutes away from pushback. So we need to do some more things here. I did check the latest weather before departure. The altimeter is 1017. Now, if you want to, you could go and get the weather down here. So we could go over here to where it says weather. And we could do weather request. And we are at EDDF. We can put this up here. And I'm going to grab the METAR. And let's send this. Now we'll go and return here. And return there. And let's look at received messages. And there's weather. Is my latest METAR good? It's actually 1016 now. It's dropped a little bit, so that's good. If we had ATC, we would have a cleared altitude. We got a lot to do today, so we're just going to go and put 37,000 feet in there. You could look on the SID, and it would tell you what your cleared altitude is. And by the way, on VATSIM, they're expecting you to start reading your charts now. So we would come over here to Frankfurt. And Frankfurt, what does it say? Langen radar, transition altitude's 5,000. Cindy, turn right, equipment, initial climb, 4,000 feet. So if we were talking to VATSIM, we'd go to 4,000 feet. We're not talking to VATSIM. All right, how's our our passengers are almost loaded. We got more work to do. Let's go over here and let's do the second one. This is your departure planning. All right, so here's our departure. Let's go and get some numbers for departure because we're all about the numbers here. So we think we're going to be departing off of runway 18. The runway surface is dry. We're going to go optimal flaps, not forcing toga. Anti-ice can be off. Packs, I usually leave the air conditioning on. Let's sync our weather. Let's also sync the preliminary load sheet. And if we take a look at that, now we can go over here. Boarding is complete. Passengers are in their seats. We got to go. So these are our latest numbers. All of that works good. Let's go back and return. Do we have a load sheet yet? We don't. Sometimes it shows up, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know what the rhyme or reason is. I think it's because I did something wrong. Go over to the init page if you want. So you can, here is the final load sheet. So there's our final load sheet. Okay, so it does give us a little bit of information. And these are our final numbers for takeoff. So that looks good. Let's go back in here and let's go to this one. And let's see if it'll resend the load sheet for us. So that we can get some, there we go. There is a load sheet. Okay, so 0 fuel weight. Let's do a init page B. It's 55.7 is the 0 fuel weight, 55.7. And do a slash. Go to the next page. And I'll go up for page 2. And let's see. 0 fuel weight center of gravity is 29.9. 29.9. And that goes right on top. Next thing is look up here. The gas gauge says 5.8. Look at your flight plan. If those match, that's good. If it doesn't, then you don't have enough gas probably and you're going to fall out of the sky. And nobody wants to make the evening news. While that's going on, let's go ahead and accept the load sheet. And we're going to come over here and just leave that there for the moment. All of this looks good. Let's go back over here. We're going to go and get our takeoff numbers. So let's do performance. And according to this, we are going to do flaps 2. And the trim's going to be up 0.0. So flaps 2 slash up 0. Oops. This does not have spell check. Up 0.0. I tend to go a little bit fast here, and it does not like that. Okay, what did I do wrong? So flaps 2 slash up 0.0. Is that going to work? There we go. Look over here. We're going to flex to 68 degrees. So 68 degrees. There we go. So V1, VR, and V2, 133, 133, 135. 133. 133. And 135. Okay, it does your thrust reduction and acceleration. Should be pretty close to those numbers. So all of those are good. That looks really nice. I think we can come over here. And I think it's time to go. If you look outside the airplane, you'll see that the jetway is pulled back. They've already closed the door. So let's look up here. We have APU. Let's get the bleed on. We're going to turn this down. We're going to disconnect from ground power. We're going to turn on the seat belts. And everything's looking pretty good. Now is a very, very good time. It's crazy, but if you've got a checklist, run it. Cockpit prep is essentially done. Gear pins and covers are aboard. Passenger signs are on. ADIRs are set to nav. Fuel quantity is verified with flight plan 5.8. Takeoff data is set and good. Baro set is good. We are good to the line. Check the windows and doors closed. They are. Now we're going to go ahead and do the beacon. So our beacon is going on. Make sure your thrust levers are at idle and the parking brake is as required. We can come over here now and go to ground services. The ground power unit, we can click that and turn off ground power because we disconnected that. Chocks and cones. Make sure your parking brakes are set. They are. I'm going to get rid of chocks and cones. And I'm going to come down here and connect their tug. And so the tug is connecting, and if you come outside, you will see that we have a tug connecting. I'm going to look behind me. So we've got a fairly tight little push zone here. As of the time that I've done this video, it's generally being since the latest sim update. I think they need to do an update on. They need to do an update for. Toolbar pushback. So Fenix is saying use their pushback right now. And you know what? It's not bad. You can't really pre-plan, but I've got to tell you, I really like it. And there we go. We are pushing back. And we are pushing back 4 minutes late. I think that that's okay. Now then, as you can see, this is a tight area here for starting engines and stuff. So look outside. And as you look down here, look over there, look over there. I generally will push my airplane back to just beyond the roadway area, and that should be good enough. You can also turn right and left. We're just doing a very, very simple pushback. Get it beyond the crew line here, and then that should be good. That's good there. And now we're going to go ahead and hit stop. It does not stop immediately. As soon as it stops, parking brakes, come on back here and disconnect the tug. All right, guess what? We get to start the engines now. So we are good to start engines. Checklist is done, so come on down here. The knobs are working really good with my Thrustmaster. So start, look up here. Do we have pneumatic pressure? Yes, we do. So look down here, engine 2. Look over here. Pilots are going to keep an eye on, first of all, do we have N2? Are the fans spinning? Yes, they are. EGT is going to be going up, but we're also going to look and check at the oil. Make sure that the oil pressure does not start going down. If the oil pressure starts going down, that means you've got an oil leak. And yes, these airplanes have oil leaks, which is never good. And the start on this airplane is so amazingly automated. It just blows you away. If we were on VATSIM, I'd already be getting hit by the squawk mode Charlie police. We are in Europe. Let's just go ahead and squawk 1000. And to squawk mode Charlie on VATSIM right now, you have to have TARA and also the TCAS set to on. And it looks like we're getting a good start on engine number. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to do my fuel pumps. I always forget my fuel pumps. Gotta stop forgetting those. If you don't have fuel pumps, then the engine will suck a little bit of fuel, but eventually it'll make your life miserable. We got a good start on engine 2. Starting 1. And 1 starts. There goes N2. Watching the oil pressure. Might go down a little bit. While that's going on, we're done with this display. I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to get my charts set up. We're going to go to starred and I'm going to go to my taxi overview. Now a lot of these taxi charts don't have the moving map, So we're going to have to go and do this one. Generally, to go to runway 18, they're going to take us just out here via November. So we'll just go and do November. Looks like we got 2 good starts on our engines, so that looks good. Come on down here. We'll get the starter back to normal. That's good. Come on up here. We're done with the APU bleed. And we're done with the APU. Look down here. I know we already did one control check. We're going to do it again. We're going to just make sure, like the real pilots, the elevators, all the way back. Release. Make sure it goes to neutral. All the way to the left. Make sure it goes to neutral. All the way to the right. Make sure it returns to neutral. Same deal with your rudders. Look down at your trim. Our trim for takeoff is down 0.0. It's 0.0. That's good enough. Come on down here. Predictive wind shear doesn't work, but we can go ahead and arm our speed brakes. And I think we're ready to go. Looking over here, nose light. Let the cabin crew know we're going to start rolling the airplane about. Cabin call. And unless I've forgotten something really bad, we're ready to go. So down here, feet on the toe brakes, parking brake off. Look up here, clear there, brakes are released. Add a little bit of power to get us going. I do use nose wheel steering, a nose wheel tiller. It's the twist stick, and I've got to tell you, it's really nice. As soon as you get going, thrust idle. That's all you need to do, is thrust idle on this airplane. It's so... and this thing really does just motor along here. It just taxis idle. It really does. It's absolutely... It's really the way these airplanes should work. A lot of other airplanes seem to pick up speed for some reason, so I think they need to tune the idle. Boy, do they have the idle tuned on this one. And you can kind of look down here and follow your progress. I think we need to go like this. I haven't actually been back here before. I'm usually over on the other concourse. Oh, picking up a little speed. I didn't have my thrust all the way down to idle. I believe this is a little payware for Frankfurt. If you're flying around Germany, this really does seem to be the place to go. Frankfurt's just amazing. I think it's their big hub. It's also where Lufthansa Cargo flies out of, so if you have the amazing MD-11 from Rotate over on X-Plane, this is going to be your departure point. And we're looking for taxiway. I believe we're looking for November. I think I'm going a little fast here. I have turned my sensitivities on my controls down to almost 75%, and I still feel like I'm over-controlling the airplane. Okay, coming out here, this should be November. We can check that. Yeah, that looks like November to me. So come on around here. I think across the way there, that's the some new terminals that they're building over on the other side of the airport. Add a little bit of power here. There's the big old fuel farm. And we're looking good. Okay, flaps for takeoff are going to be flaps 2. We'll go ahead and do flaps 2. We'll also do auto brakes to RTO. Might need a little more power here at this point. Boy, we didn't need much power getting out of the gate area. Now all of a sudden we need it again. Really nice airplane. Really like the modeling on the airplane too. Some of the airplanes that are coming out have just amazing models. Oh, there's the big, all the big gas tanks, and then the cargo area starts to open up here. So we're doing pretty good. We're going to take this all the way down to, I believe it's November 15. Actually, no, we can keep on going to runway 18. This is going to take us straight over there. We can go and do the after start checks. We should have done those after start checks. Anti-ice is required. I don't think we need it. ECAM status. Everything is clear except for the takeoff config check. So let's see if we passed the test. We did. That looks good. Pitch trim is set. Rudder trim is 0. Rudder trim 0 doesn't seem to affect very much a first flight of the day. But when you are, if you're going to do like a series of flights, continuing flight, you know, from Vienna down to Athens or wherever, if you're doing a continuing flight after landing, you really need to come down here and hit that reset button on your rudder trim. So we're good to go there. We could do before takeoff checklist. Flight controls are checked and set. Flight instruments are set too. Our briefing has been done, although poorly. Flaps are confirmed too. V1, VR, V2, and flex temp are all set. ATC is set. ECAM memo is clean and green. We're good to the line. Now we do wait till we verify our runway, which should be just ahead, and it is. So with that, I'm going to go over to the Cindy departure. There's our Cindy departure. So what we got here is we're going to take off, and we can only go 220 knots, and we're going to make a turn at Reed. And slow it down just a little bit. There's our hold short line. This is one of those really cool airplanes where the cabin is modeled. We'll walk through the cabin in just a second. And there's our hold short line, and that should be our... Oh wait, that's the Category 3 line. Is that Category 3 or is that hold short for runway 18? Oh, that's hold short. That's not Category 3. Good thing I looked. And there we go. So, to the before takeoff line, takeoff runway has been confirmed. Cabin crew, we can go ahead and tell the cabin crew that we're serious about doing that flying thing. So there's a cabin call. Let's see. Engine mode select is going to be normal. Packs are going to be on. Before takeoff checklists are good. I think at this point we'll clear ourselves onto the runway and take off. So strobes. And then I also go and do the landing lights. If you put your pointer in between the two, you can do them both at the same time, which I think is good. Now, I haven't turned my landing lights on. I'm just dropping them out of the bottom of the airplane right now. So they're just going bzzz, moving down like that. You don't turn your landing lights on until you're lined up on the runway. If there's another airplane over there on the other side, you're going to blind them. I mean, these are like bright. So last thing you do before you push the throttles forward is turn them on. That lets everybody know that, hey, this airplane is serious about hurtling itself down the runway at breakneck speed and taking to the skies. And yeah, maybe I've had too much coffee. Okay. Lined up. Landing lights going on. Again, do it in the middle. And they both do. It's so convenient. Thank you for doing that. Okay, I usually push my throttles forward until that middle spot there. And I look at my throttle instruments, sit back. When they're there and they're stable, then you push it up. We are manual flex. SRS is set. Auto thrust is blue. I don't have runway right now. And we appear to have a little bit of a crosswind. And had I read the METAR, I'd have been prepared for it. 100 knots. It's a little windy around Frankfurt these days. V1 and rotate. One of the things that I really would like that I'd really like the developers to do is speed callouts for takeoff, so that you can watch the runway and not look at your speed tape. Landing gear up, positive rate. I should have looked at positive rate and then gear. How are we doing here? Okay, flight directors are nicely centered. AP, lever climb. I'm doing the AP a little bit soon right now. Generally, when I'm recording a video like this or I'm live streaming, I usually hit my AP fairly soon. I know that that's cheating and not the right way to go, but when you're also kind of keeping an eye on a video or a chat channel or something like that, it's a good thing to do. All right, are we good? Yep, flaps 1. And there we are, about ready to make our turn, right? There's our turn. What a good airplane. Considering how bad the pilot is. And there we go. Outbound there. There's Amtex. There's terrain radar. Should have had terrain radar. Real world pilots, one of the pilots is going to have terrain radar on. The other pilot will have weather radar on. And flaps are up. Flaps going up. We'll go ahead and do speed brakes disarmed. I wasn't fast enough with my flaps, I think. Passing 3,000 feet. Everything's looking good. Thrust climb. Airplane's being such a good airplane, considering how bad the pilot is. And I'm going to tell you, this is amazing to me. You take an airplane of this quality, you put it with the scenery like we have at Microsoft Flight Simulator, and as a flight simulator geek since the days of the Sublogic wireframe simulator, this is just, as I was telling a friend who isn't into flight sim and stuff, this is catnap. This is catnap. Massive airplane geeky moments here. Up, reset the altimeters, standard. And I'm just going to verify. And we'll go down here. You do have to go standard on the backup altimeter. And that's good. The climb is looking good. Ooh. And looking outside just blows me away. If you're a long-time viewer of the spy flights, you're probably wondering why I'm flying Lufthansa. That's an airline to have for flying around Europe. There is not a United livery yet. This airplane has CFM engines. United flies the other kind, and the 3 letters has temporarily escaped my brain. I will remember soon. But there's basically 2 kinds of engines on the A320. United flies the other kind, although somebody pointed me to a report that says United's going to start flying CFMs. Okay, that's 10,000 feet, landing lights off. Taxi light off, 10,000 feet. You usually hear a chime at 10,000 feet. On some airlines, that's the captain telling the cabin crew that it's 10,000 feet. Mostly that means they're going to stay seated for a while, but usually the cabin crew is now on the PA saying the seatbelt sign's still on. No, you can't go to the bathroom. And we're passing 10,000 feet. After takeoff checklist time, landing gear is up. Flaps are retracted. Packs are on. Barrel reference is set to standard. We're good to go there. Nothing really to do up here. All of our lights are where they need to be. Oh, I already forgot something. I did not arm my emergency exit lights. Bad pilot. Emergency exit police are coming to get me right now. You know, let's see. Is there a chance? Let's go and turn these off. Was the ECAM yelling at me about it? Okay, at least this wasn't yelling at me about it. But still, I forgot that. As we look down here, as you're flying along and stuff, you're going to notice that the airplane is going to send you some messages every now and then. This is also how you can talk to air traffic control. CPDLC works in this. I tried to do something with it, and they basically told me, nope, we're not doing that right now. But they put that in there. So this actually works. So I think if you brighten this up a little bit, you can see this actually works. So a whole nother thing to learn. There is so much to learn about this airplane. It really is. There have been thunderstorms and stuff around here, so basically there has been, it's been pretty bouncy around Frankfurt and Germany. And there is Cindy. That is basically the end of the star. So we have completed our departure from EDDF. And now at this point, I'm going to go to the route map. The route map looks pretty good. It's a really nice little map to show you kind of where you are and where you got to go. So I kind of like to leave it over there. Another thing that I will do fairly regularly is I'm going to go and hit my fuel prediction page. Fuel prediction shows, this is the big number here that I care about. Estimated fuel on board when we get to Vienna is 3.1. If you look over at your flight plan, so if we come over here and go to the reference page and go to the flight plan and come down here to the fuel. So there's three lines here, FAR, 15 minutes, and LHBP, which is Budapest, that's my alternate. These three numbers add up to this number here, REMF, remaining fuel. Now, various styles of flight plan, various styles of this flight plans out of SimBrief have virtually the same information, but this REMF number, remaining fuel, that's these three numbers. So we really need to make sure that we don't go below, in this case, 3.2 kg. I'm at 3.1. I found that I'm pretty close to the line on this, and once we get to cruise, that number jumps up a little bit. Now, there's also something that says I'm supposed to put in some numbers down here. And I think what I'm supposed to do is to get to our alternate at Budapest, we need 36 minutes or 1,569 kgs of fuel. So I think to do this, you would do 1.5 and 0036. Let's see if that's true. So alternate is 1.5. And time, I don't know about that, but let's put just the 1.5 and see what it does. Okay, so that added a little bit to that. That's how much fuel to get to our alternate. This is something I need to learn more about. I don't know enough about this. But I was told on the live stream yesterday that that's something I need to be doing. So back over here to performance for now. And we're in climb mode. We're going to flight level 370, 22,000. It's actually really nice. I do have real world weather and real time set up here in the flight simulator. So it actually looks pretty good, but it's definitely a little bit bouncy here, and they've had some pretty good thunderstorms. A really nice weather radar is available over here in SimToolkit Pro. Holy cats, look at all of that. Well, I'm going to guess it's going to be entertaining in Amsterdam today. Looks like Brussels is just clearing all of this. Bremen and Hamburg, you're next. So the fireworks are basically coming over here. And hey, we got a whole line of rain coming into UK. Looks like it's been pretty damp in Northern Ireland today. And another big patch of moisture out of Latvia. So you really can get a nice overview of the weather just by looking at this. And I also believe that here in the map you could also click in, I think you could also click in ATC. So you could do ATC and network flights and stuff. I have not done that yet. And when I'm doing a video, I generally try to experiment as little as possible. I will experiment as little as possible. SimToolkit Pro, by the way, this is free. It connects very, very nicely with SimBrief, which is what you do your flight plans with. We have passed 25,000 feet, so if it's not too bouncy, just as a sim captain, my general SOP is I'll do seatbelts about now. Some airlines say no, keep them in your seat, keep them in their seats until top of climb. There was one day that I will never forget. It was a long time ago. I got a Venti instead of a Grande, and it was a very bouncy flight. The seatbelt sign did not come off for quite a while. That is not a comfortable position to be in. And this is the amazing part of this. Look out the window and you see the great, great, awesome scenery. And it's not just here either. So let's go ahead and we're going to go like this. Oh, hi, co-pilot. Good to see you. And we can go over here. We can open the door. Okay, this is kind of new here in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Okay, let's stand up like we're there. There's a good 6-foot person. And there's our cabin. If you look over here, we can go to the galley. The people from Phoenix gave us a coffee machine. So there's a coffee machine. There is an espresso machine. I'm not sure. I think that this is either water or maybe this is how this is the milk foamer. So, you know, you can get your really great coffee. I think this is the hot water spout if you're going to have tea. One of the developers of this airplane is from the UK and has reliably informed me that if you're going to have tea the proper way in the UK, do not put the milk into the mug first. It goes into your mug last. And that is apparently a very serious issue. There is nothing in the lavatory. It's empty. None of the cabin controls work there either. You can't click on doors. No big deal. But there is still a lot of detail here in this cabin. And one of the things that absolutely blows me away, it's kind of small, but look here. There's row 4. There's row 5. There's row 6. Really? Okay, you can't click any of these, but they numbered the seat rows. Wow, really? That's pretty impressive. Generally, when I book a flight, I usually will go for 10A. So this is the seat that I usually try to book if I'm going to be a passenger. So you come over here, and you can kind of look out the window. And can you see why I like this picture? This is a great view. I'm not kidding. Holy moly, I haven't seen this since before COVID. And so you got an airplane of this quality with that kind of scenery. Yeah, I'm a huge geeky fan about all this. I'm not going to look there. Somebody probably stuffed their chewing gum down there. But a nice cabin. You can move your way around the cabin really nicely. There is not a galley that I was able to see. There is there's all the way in the back. There is 2 more lavatories with nothing I saw, and then a curtain. So that's what's in there. Generally, I think that the cabin style here is going to be business class and economy. I don't know that they actually have a first class type of a setup. And it's great. You know what? If it saves frame rates and makes it simpler, that's awesome. Tried to click around here. There's nothing really to click on that panel. But I'll bet that that panel is really accurate. So you kind of come back in here into the cockpit. And we'll look around here and we can close the door. There is a cabin camera up there. I think that you can push buttons and stuff with the camera. Oh, and another thing. If you come back here, apparently a lot of the circuit breakers work. So be careful with the circuit breakers. You might pop one. That could be a thing. All right, let's come on over here. We'll go over and I'll usually leave the map view on. Another view that you could leave on is the main application here. And you could go to My Flight. And if you come over here, that's going to give you your progress on your flight there. Looking down at panel states, this is how it is that you can go, and my default is cold and dark. So cold and dark is the panel state that I like. So generally I also like to come up here and just leave my map on. And seatbelts are off, lights are good, APU is off, cabin is comfy. I don't know that there's too much more trouble we can get in up there. Looking down here, I don't think there's any trouble here. We're passing 33,000 feet. Seatbelts are off. Engines appear to be operating nicely. You could also be like the real pilots. The real pilots I'm told they will go and do something called run through the ECAM. And so every 30 minutes they go and they hit each one of these buttons on the ECAM and just have a look at every system. Now I think you can go and page through by hitting the all button or hit each button individually. So there's the bleeds. Here's pressurization. There's the electrical system. Hydraulics. Real pilots say that the green system is the one where the level is always the lowest. Now you can see mine's actually a little bit lower. It could be that with this airplane you have to do maintenance on the airplane, so it could be I need to go and add some hydraulic fluid. Here is our fuel panel. So fuel looks good. The APU should be off. It is. Air conditioning. Good, the air conditioning works. Doors, they should be closed. Doors are closed. One thing that the real world pilots talk about is they always keep a close eye on cockpit oxygen. Wheel temperatures, did we heat up the brakes or anything like that? Doesn't look like it, they're in good shape. Here's our flight controls. And then we're going to hit recall. Nothing to recall. Status, is there anything wrong in there? Status is good. And then hit clear and it'll put us back into the main cruise. Total air temperature, it's minus 31. It is 1409. That is the current time. If we take a look at the flight schedule that we were supposed to maintain on this flight, and we come over here, if it's 1409 Zulu, we are supposed to be on the ground. Our ETA is supposed to be 1457 Zulu. My official arrival time, according to the flight plan, was 15:05. So we're actually going to arrive on time, maybe a little bit early. With this airplane, you can jump down time scheduling rabbit holes if you would like to. And that's kind of a good thing to learn, especially for the day that you decide that you would like to fly on Cross the Pond, because in Cross the Pond you actually have to depart at your time. They have so many airplanes in that event that you got to go. You've got to be able to depart. See, we were out of the star. Usually, when we're out of the star, I forgot to hit the airport button. Airports are up so that if we lose an engine, we've got to land. This shows us, okay, which direction should we point the airplane in to land? Because we got to, you know. And we are at our final cruising altitude, Mach altitude cruise. Looking down here, you can see here we're on cruise page. Top of descent is 114 miles. That should happen at 1425 Zulu. It is currently 1410. So this is a great opportunity for a little bit of a coffee break. Basically what I do on these flights is about now. There's not too many things to do at the moment. When I get to being about 100 to 75 miles from top of descent, that's usually when it is that I like to go and start my descent preparations. Whoops. Sorry about that. I meant you to see the big one, not the big me, the big airplane. When you get on the ground, one of the things to do is to kind of just go with like the drone camera and go around the airplane and just look up close. You're going to find some amazing details. You'll find the static ports are really nicely done. Pitot tubes are really nicely done. And if you actually have the procedures for a walk around on this airplane, I bet that you're going to find everything that the pilots are looking for. I think it's that. And the other thing that absolutely amazes me about this airplane is I would have expected to be double what I paid for this airplane. So that's just, I'm not kidding. This is that good. And I'm not not sponsored by anybody. So there you go. I'm going to go ahead and warm up my cup of coffee. We probably got about 10 minutes, 15 minutes before we have to start doing our preparations for descent. So this is your opportunity to fly, sit back. I would hit pause. And when your flight management computer shows that you are about seriously, did they get J.J. Abrams to do their lens flares? Welcome back. It really was not that long of a break. But we are back, and if you take a look at the flight management computer, we are 75 miles from top of descent, so it's time to start descent preps. And the first thing that I usually do is just go over everything's looking good there. Let's go and get a weather update. So back to the Air Operations Center button, and we're going to hit weather request, excuse me, and we're going to do LOWW, LOWW. And METAR and send. Okay, let's go back over here and return, and we'll wait for a message. If you are new to this amazing world of flight simulation, there is a website to go to. Link in the description below. LOWW. Put this in here. This is called METAR TAF. This is an amazingly great way to be able to see what the weather is like where you're going. And so we've got 2 runways here. Now, right now the winds are favoring 11 and 16, but it looks like they're landing with the tailwind on runway, is it 29 or 34? Actually, it's 34. So we're landing with a bit of a tailwind here, but I did check and see Vienna is still landing this way. So this is a really great way to visualize what the weather's going to be like where you're going. It's also a great way if you have flight notes like mine to go to the bottom and do highlight, Control C, go over and grab your flight notes, and we're going to just go ahead and paste in that. So there we go. There's our flight notes. That way we just have a copy of those so that you can look and see. If you're just getting started with flight simulators, I suggest that you use paper and pencil to start, but then eventually I would suggest going and doing a little notepad, because eventually you don't want to keep buying and buying all that paper. Let's go to received messages, and look at this. First of all, DL, that's for Lufthansa Ops operations. And send ADC for 4 minutes. ADC delay card on the company. Okay, so we got a little bit of a delay going out. Okay, so delay card on company tablet. This is something that I haven't done before. Delay card, ground services, mass and balance. Let's go over and see, what do we have? I have no idea. I was reading a little. Oh, hang on. I know where to get it. Hang on. I think I know where to get this. So received messages. Hang on. The delays. I think I might know. Timeout. So these things happen. Okay. If there was a delay pushing, the company will request that you justify why. In the EFB, you can toggle delay allocation card. Okay, so in the EFB home screen, delay allocation card, gee, it's right there at the bottom. Okay, so what did we have? We had, what was our excuse? System reset. Miscellaneous OTH. It was other. We won't lie. Okay, so it's going to be an OTH. Well, let's lie. What was it? It was incorrect refueling, self-maneuvering stand, stairs broken, jetway broken. How about toilets flooded? Do we have toilets flooded? Boy, there isn't a really good excuse in there, is there? Let's just do GBJ. broken jetway. We're going to blame it on the jetway. Okay, GBJ. Okay, so how do we do this? I've actually got this. So GBJ. All right, so what we do is we come down here into the AOC menu, ADC delay. Delay code was, I already forgot it, but it's over here. We're going to say it was a GBJ. So GBJ delay. And it was 0. Okay, so we do that. So put that in, and that was 4 for 4 minutes. Nope. Clear. 4 minutes. And send. Okay, so that was our excuse. Let's go to receive messages, and let's do weather. And here's our weather going in, which is exactly 1020. Yeah, this is exactly what I got off of METAR TAF. So all of that looks good. So, boy, there we go. Let's go over here, and we're going to go and do this arrival performance. This is actually pretty cool. All right, so this is how we can figure out how this is going to work. So runway, we know that we're coming in on runway 34. Okay, let's refresh the METAR and apply it. Landing weight, so let's see. The landing weight, and I'm a little fuzzy on this. Descent, not in there. Okay, let's go back over here. How long? 26 miles to top of descent. We're going to go down this rabbit hole in just a second, okay? Because what we really need to do is get some altitudes for our descent. So come on over here to Vienna, and we're going to go to Start, and we're going to come in on this arrival, and this is going to be our initial descent, and we need to be above 6,000 feet at Nerdu. After Nerdu, we're going to be at 3,000 feet. So this airplane's pretty smart. I'm going to put in 3,000 feet. That's going to be the bottom of our descent. If we were with ATC, they would have told us maybe the 6,000, but we're going to be busy jumping down rabbit holes. So 3,000 feet, and if you look over here at the navigation display, 20 miles away, we've got a little hockey stick here, and that's the top of descent. There is a captain who has written a series of books called the Flight Simulator Check Ride Manual. And that is basically, they started out as books for real-world pilots who had to go and do a flight simulator test before they could get a job. And this was, hey, I'm going to help you out here. And they're actually really, really good books. And then flight simulator geeks like me discovered them. And they are great books for learning airplanes like this. I originally started with one in the 90s for a 757. And then I bought the PDF for the A320 a couple of years ago when I started learning about Airbuses. Really great books there. And it was Captain Ray where I first heard the term hockey stick. So that's where that comes from. I don't know that he actually thought about it, but that was the first place I heard. So we're coming up here on top of descent. So there it is at 12. And so we've got all that. If you look at your flight plan, my landing weight that I'm supposed to be at is 58.9, I think. It's supposed to be 58.9. I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but we can come in here, and I think that my landing rate is going to be 58.9. I think. Hopefully that's not the case. Okay, so we got that in there. Let's go down here. 5 miles to top of descent. You really kind of have to watch your multitasking on all this because You can be overplaying with the flight management, with the EFB, and it's sort of like, no, you're supposed to be doing this there. 3 miles from top of descent. Two miles. And we'll maintain a nice view outside the window. 1 mile. And we're over it, and you can see the little managed. You can see we missed the I think they call this one the donut. That's the green dot for flaps, and I think this one is called the donut. And so it's going to descend a little bit fast right now to get the donut centered up here, that's going to get us back on our proper path. Okay, so our descent has started. Let's go back over here. So we've got all this. I'm going to go with auto brakes low because we're coming in from the farthest runway and we got a long taxi. Idle reverse is probably good enough. Landing's going to be manual. Flaps should be full. Auto throttle will be on. So now let's go ahead and what's the condition of the runway? I think the runway's dry. So it's dry there, and holy moly, look at that. Now all of a sudden it's going to show our winds, and it's going to show how much runway we're going to use. Okay, that's not so bad. You know why? Here's why I'm not sweating this. On this particular runway, look at the airport. We're coming in on 3-4. I don't mind coming all the way out here because Bravo 5 is where we're going to taxi in. So in this case, I don't mind so much the fact that we're going to do that. Now, best laid plans, it's probably going to blow up in my face, but there you go. Okay, so how we doing here? This is looking really good. Let's go ahead and let's take the data from here and put it in here. So go to the next phase, and the altimeter is 1020, 1020. This is, by the way, the first airplane where I've ever run a side-by-side set of McDo's like this. 1020. Enter. Temperature. It's 29 degrees in Vienna. Winds in Vienna are 150 at 5. Man, I'm typing a button and it's not clicking. 150 at 05. Transition altitude, I believe, is already set. Barrow, let's look over here. And that's going to be on the ILS. And it is 786. 786. 786. This is says flight level 100. If you look over here, it says transition altitude is 10,000 feet. Level is set by ATC. When you don't have ATC or anything, somebody was telling me that just add 1,000 to that and that makes your transition level. It seems to be that it's good. I'm also going to take a note of this, OEN, because one of the things is if we get a little bit closer, we're going to see that pop up here in the lower left-hand corner. If that doesn't pop in there, that means that it's not setting your ILS. Go to radio nav, and you can see OEN. It's already expecting it right now, and 9 times out of 10, it's perfect, but you got to keep an eye on that. Okay, so everything else is looking good here. We are passing 29,000 feet. We are right in the middle of the donut there. And everything. Oh, we got a company message. They probably are saying, BS, your jetway wasn't broken. You're a bad pilot. It says my pathetic excuse was received. So these are some things that will pop in there, which is, I think, really, really nice. Is that they're actually starting to model some of the airline operations, which, you know, if you're flying jets like this in the world of flight simulator, this is the kind of geeky stuff that you want. It's the kind of geeky stuff that I want. And if you have stayed with me this long in the video, I'm going to assume that you're really cool, and thank you for doing that. Okay, nothing else really to worry about here. All of this is set. If we were on VATSIM, we would be tuning our radios. So 122.8 would be on VATSIM. You know, here's the thing about VATSIM. There's a lot of people that are kind of scared to talk on the radio. I clearly don't know how to dial 122.8. There's a lot of people that are really kind of scared to talk on the radio. And you know, even real-world pilots get a little bit of mic fright, not just on the real-world radios, but even on VATSIM. Here's the thing. We're all kind of, you know, human. We're all going to make mistakes. We all stumble. You know, it's not like a movie. You don't get a second take. But you know what? That's okay. And one of the things to do is if you're doing what I call this a learning flight, you know, when I'm just flying by myself, I'm not even on the network. One of the things I'll do is in the back of my head, I'll be thinking about, okay, if I were talking to ATC, what would I be saying now? You know, what would they be saying to me? And you know, that thing starts at the beginning of the flight. You know, you got to get a clearance. That's usually the thing that scares the most people away. Oh, my first time talking on the radio, what do I say? Well, it's simple. Who are you? Where are you? What do you want? That's really your basic thing. Now you can add a few more things, like I have the DIST information Yankee is aboard. Can you do that too? Oh, and by the way, on this airplane, you can also request a clearance through CPDLC. Yeah, so if you're on VATSIM and the controller has got CPDLC data set up, you can request your clearance that way. I'm really looking forward to trying that someday. I got a lot to learn, but there you go. Okay, the airport is showing up there, 60 miles. I'm going to go over here and go from airports to constraints now. So that looks good. And we're supposed to be below 17,000 feet and above 6,000 feet at Massur. So I think we're going to hit that just fine. We're right on our descent path. We can look over here and we can take a look at the approach. And it's going to see, do we have any speed restrictions? No, I don't really see anything there. Do we have any speed restrictions here? No. Descent planning after receipt of this, after. I don't see any speed restrictions on this one. So generally what I'm going to want to do is we're starting to get in close, definitely, you know, below 250 knots at 10,000 feet. And then probably down here around 110. And then as I make a 90-degree turn like this, I'm going to want to probably be close to, I'd like to be close to 180 by the time we get around the turn here and then make this turn to final. So that's what I would do for speeds if we're going just too fast. But right now we're doing pretty good. Not so bad. Below 25,000 feet, this is good for seat belts. And we're also going to do cabin call, let them know, hey, time to start getting serious about that landing thing. So you don't have anything new in here. Over here on the air operations manual here, you've got flight init, ATC request. This is where you would have gone in to have done a pre-departure clearance. You can also do an oceanic clearance out of this thing. An oceanic clearance? Are you kidding me? This is awesome, being able to do an oceanic clearance out of this. That's for cross the pond. I mean, that's for cross the land. That's amazing. Pre-departure clearance, EDDF, put your gate number in, your ATIS, the station that is actually doing the CPDLC, and then send it. It's really pretty awesome. If you don't know about CPDLC, think of it as text messaging for pilots and ATC. So it's not quite like using your phone, so hopefully a little more secure than that. And, you know, hopefully they don't get spammed. I can only imagine the kind of spam And it's early in the morning, and it's actually, if you're wondering where the beach shirt is, we actually woke up to rain mixed with snow outside. Let's see if it's still cloudy. Yeah, cloudy. The snow didn't stick to the ground today, but here it is May, and we've woke up this morning, looked out the window, and it was rain mixed with snow. How about that? This was a really nice flight. Obviously, the weather map for earlier today had some pretty good showers and thunderstorms for Frankfurt in Germany, but it looks like it's pretty clear here in Vienna. So the departure weather was really, really nice for today's flight. There has been a couple of people have been having problems setting up controls. I use the Thrustmaster stuff, the Thrustmaster Airbus pack, and I basically took the Airbus setup that I use, the control configurations for the fly-by-wire Airbus, and just used them right over here. There are going to be, there's a little bit of configuration that you got to do, a little calibration. You do that through the flight management computer down there. It's really super duper easy. It is super duper easy. Not a big deal at all. I usually will leave this one over on weather. And here's a turn in there. So are we below 17,000? We are. And we just have to stay above 6,000 for now. One of the things that I have begun to notice, they did this with the PMDG 737, and Fenix did it with this airplane too. Okay, so when you're a passenger on a commercial jet, you're coming on in, and the pilots or the computer, they're pulling back the throttle to idle a little bit. Have you noticed the sound of the engines? There's this slow. It's the best I can do. I'm not good at imitating sounds, but you get the picture. There's this low. I noticed that in the 737, and it's in this airplane too. When they're starting to idle and roll these down, it's just this low idle sound is what I call it on jet engines. And I hear it in this airplane. One of the things is I think the sounds on this airplane are absolutely amazing. They really are. Passing 16,000 feet, we're looking good. We're right on our descent path. We are coming into Vienna. So we should start seeing the city out there. Now's the perfect time to just get to look out the windows and see. And with COVID and you know, the world going to hell in so many different ways, one of the neat things about Flight Sim right now is you get to come and you get to look outside. You get to, and you look at scenery like that, and it's just, wow. For some of us, it's been a great way to get out and stay connected with the world. And if you're kind of sitting at home watching YouTube and feel like that too, come on over to the Spy Flight. I mean, there's an awful lot of really, really cool people there. There's also people that are super duper smart, a lot smarter about airplanes than I am. And it's just really good company. So if you're kind of sitting around feeling a bit isolated, come on over, say hi. You'll find some really cool people there. We try and make an extra effort to keep the levels of toxic, you know, way far away, so you get a nice break from that. One of the things on this airplane here, there's these two knobs underneath the flight control panel here. If you check, you can see you can turn out the backlighting. So there is backlighting that you can turn on. You can also turn down the intensity of the numbers. So at night you can turn all those down. I generally, it's called integrated lighting, and you can see I have the lower panel, the integrated lighting popped up there. My upper panel, the integrated lighting is up there. So I do try and turn those on. Just makes the instruments kind of pop out a little bit, and at least for me, it's easier for me to see that stuff. Passing 15,000 feet now. And our nice little descent continues. The people at Fenix Sim are starting to build up a really good knowledge base over on their website as far as setting up your controls. One of the things that I'm expecting them to start doing is start putting together some more advanced flight manual types of things on how some of this works, because there's a level of depth in this airplane that there just isn't in any other airplane. So understanding exactly how you would go about using the air operation system would be good. One of the things that also comes with the Fenix airplanes is an awful lot of really, really amazing liveries. You can also set failures if you want to. I haven't done any of those because I'm just one step above failure on most of my flights anyway, but eventually you can go and start putting failures in so you can start learning how to deal with in-flight emergencies. One of the things that I will be doing is I'm also going to go and get out my PDF file that I bought from Captain Mike Ray, and I think that's utem.com. I'll try and find that and be sure and remember to put that in the description for you. For his flight simulator manuals. I've got to go and dig that up and have a look at his book on this airplane. In control sensitivities for Microsoft Flight Simulator, my side stick, I've really started to trim those down. So my control sensitivities are starting to go, like I said, it's minus 70, 75 for the stick and the rudder pedals. I really just feel like I'm over controlling stuff. So I don't know if that's the correct thing to do, is to turn down the sensitivities or not, but that's what I've been doing. Approaching 13,000 feet. I think we're doing really good. We're just supposed to be staying above 6,000 feet. The donut is right centered here, so the airplane is telling us that we're in pretty good shape. So there should be Vienna, and the airport should be up over there. Our descent's pretty good too. Again, according to the flight schedule that I got out of SimBrief, we've got to be on the ground at 15:05 Zulu. It is currently 14:42. Unless something goes drastically wrong, we're going to arrive on time. In fact, we're going to arrive a little bit early. Pretty amazing views outside here. I'm actually really good today. There, you know, judging from all the thunderstorms and stuff that we were supposed to have, that they've been having in Central Europe, I was kind of expecting it to be a little bit meh, but it seems to be a really nice arrival here today. We're off of this this part of the map. This part of the map does not take into account your SID and your star. So if you're off the line like that, there's a reason. One of the things that you can do is, if you're noticing some frame rate hits and stuff like that, is you can go into the Fenix Sim application and you can change how it is that you can change render settings. So I'm just on default right now and I feel like I'm doing just fine, but you can send some of that over to your graphics card. I don't pretend to understand that, but there are some people that say they have seen a really nice increase in their in frame rates and make the airplane look a little bit better. And from what I'm told, you can change those things on the fly, so you don't have to change it and restart everything, which blows me away. That's pretty impressive. So now we're making our turn, and we should also have a should see the airport here pretty quickly too. I think a lot of the approaches that they have set up here is for noise abatement. Especially at night, there's different approaches at night too for noise abatement. They take that pretty seriously in this part of Europe. And a very nice turn there. One of the things I like to do is some mornings I'll just basically get up and, you know, the live streams later in the afternoon, but I'll just go and hop in a plane and do a little flight like this. It's really nice. Great way to get out and, you know, sort of, you know, get out. And one of the things that I've noticed is with all of these new airplanes, they are much more complex. This is not like flying the fly-by-wire. This is not like flying any of the Airbuses over an X-plane. This one seems to be a little more difficult for me to be able to handle. So this one's going to take a little bit more practice. I mean, I can land the other Airbuses and look reasonably a few steps below pro. I'm never going to call myself a pro. But this one, if we stick the landing half as good as I'm hoping, I'll be lucky. So this one does take practice, and so one of the things is if you're a live streamer, or if just a simple practice flight like this is going to really help you out. And I generally, you know, if I can keep my flight, the flight short, so that takeoff, 15-20 minutes of cruise and land, you know, 350 miles is a great practice flight. And I think that this airplane is going to require a little bit of that, especially before you hop into VATSIM. I've had it on VATSIM once, and it wasn't pretty. Wasn't as bad as the alligators on the runway in the MD-11, but it wasn't pretty. So as we look out here, we should start to see an airport pop up out there. And wait to tell, you can see up there it is. So the airport's 10 miles away. I can hear the rain has picked up outside again. 10,000 feet, our speed is, we're a little bit below 240. So let's go ahead and landing lights. Boy, do I like being able to do both the lights at the same time. Wow, is that nice. I'm also going to pre-arm my nose light, taxi. I'm also going to do a 10,000 foot cabin call. And just ring the bell for the flight attendants and know it's 10,000 feet. Airport should be right out there. I think there it is. There is our airport. Hello, airport. Always enjoy when I'm a passenger. You know, we're on approach, able to look out and see, up there's the airport. Yeah, it's great to be able to be a passenger, look outside the airplane and see stuff like this. Okay, so we should be coming down up, altimeter reset. So standard, and it's 1020, right? I'm trying to look at the notes over on Notepad less and look at the things here in the airplane like the real pilots will. So 1020. How are we doing here? Oh, look at this. It's showing us we're doing really good on our approach. We can go and look at our flight plan here and see, do we have any speed reduction? No real speed reductions here. So 250. So as we're coming on in, there's no real speed restrictions or anything like that on the flight plan. I'm going to go and probably start taking control of my own speed now. One last time with the fuel prediction button. How are we doing? 3.3 is what we are going to have in the tanks when we get to the airport. Doesn't include taxi time. And if you look at your flight plan, The remaining fuel that we talked about, my flight plan said 3.2. I guess that means we won the fuel game. So, hey, victory dance with Eva and Cassandra at, you know, the Assassin's Creed pub or something like that. Okay, this is looking good. I'm going to go and bring my map in one more click. And I'm going to want to start taking a little bit more control of my speed. I don't want to go careening around this tight turn at 240 knots. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go and do 210. 210 should also put me to the point where I can start rolling out some flaps. That's going to help me keep control of my speed and descent just a little bit. In fact, there's the two little golden hash marks there for flap deploy, although there's the green dot right there. So we can go ahead and start throwing the flaps out. Notch of flaps. How are we doing on our descent path? We're still doing good on the descent path. If we have to, we may need to go and do vertical speed ourselves. And at this point, if you've got it, run your checklist. So the approach briefing has been done. The ECAM status is checked and everything is golden. Seatbelts are on, barrel reference is set. The MDA has been set. Engine mode is going to stay normal. If it were raining, maybe we would go and do, I believe, continuous or start. I'm not sure. You may need to scratch that. I think maybe it's different on this airplane. I've been flying older airplanes for a while. That might be different. Anyhow, approach checklist is done. Nothing really to do up here. The donut is still centered, so we're still on a very nice descent path. Let's see here. Nothing to do up there. Nothing to do up there. We're not in clouds. We don't need to do anti-ice. It's just a beautiful day for landing. One of the things I've noticed, especially in Microsoft Flight Simulator, is there's wind turbines all over the place. I know it's probably the broadcasters don't like the idea, and I probably say that as a former broadcaster, but one of the things, especially for night flying, is amazing landmarks are broadcast towers. I kind of wish that there was a way to get broadcast towers in there without, you know, certain people going into freak out mode, because those are amazing landmarks. We're only supposed to stay above 6,000 feet, so we're really pretty good here. One of the things is with a racetrack like this, they would have you, they would use something like this to be able to move you up a little bit faster. So if there's an airplane, 2 or 3 airplanes behind us and only one ahead of us, they might have us go and as we come up here, do a direct to WW 973. And so that way they can move airplanes up or, you know, kind of keep them where they are in the sequence as they're coming in. And so that way they can space the airplanes out. They'll also do that by telling you to adjust your speed. Speed up a little, slow down a little bit. So they would do that, but I think that's why they have these kinds of waiting queues with so many little waypoints in here so that they can move that airplane up just a little bit faster if they need to. So kind of brilliant the way a lot of these are set up. I mean, nobody's really all that excited about a waiting queue, but still. A direct to. This is actually probably a good chance to do a direct to, so let's try that. So we're coming up on WW 977. As soon as we pass here, we're going to do a direct to WW 973. So how do you do a direct to in this one? Really simple. Direct. Slide this over here. Direct. And we're going to, which one did we say we wanted to go to? We want to go to 973. So there's 973 right there. And we're going to wait. Let's do it now. So direct to 973 and insert. And the airplane's going to make the turn. Now at this point in time, it's basically, oh, we're a little bit too high. We need to be going down to 4,000. So at this point, I'm going to increase my rate of descent here. not gonna let the airplane do it. We need to be 4,000 or above. Not gonna pick up too much speed on the turn, but there we go. So we just moved ourselves up in the queue just a little bit there, and you can see a good example. We didn't do too much of moving ourselves up in the queue. We did okay. As we start to turn in, let's go ahead and start getting ready for the approach. Activate the LS landing system. And we are not picking up glide slope and localizer, but remember OEN and the frequency. Come on over here, look at your ILS. Is it the same? OEN and 108.1? 108.1. So we verified that we are picking up that frequency. Looks like we're pretty good. Go over to the airport, start to think a little bit about what we're going to do when we land. We're going to be coming in, we're going to be exiting the left. I'm going to try and exit at Bravo 4 or 5. Our parking gate is down over here. Okay, we can slow this descent just a little bit now. I want to keep that 4,000 feet. Now we need to slow down even more. That's 3,000 feet. Put that in half. There we go, above 3,000 feet. That's good. So nice gentle descent there. We're going to keep our speed up a little bit. Generally by now I start wanting to go to 180. We're 20 miles out, so we're going to keep our speed up just a little bit here. A look up here, all the lights are good. So there is the airport, there is the runway. There's 15-mile finals. Let's go ahead and do 180. Did you hear the sounds of the engines going down to idle when I slowed it down? Okay, there's two more little golden marks here above the by that little hash mark there by 200 knots. That means at that point we're safe to go flaps 2. I've got localizer. No glide slope yet. Well, we got localizer. Speed brakes are armed. Auto brakes are low. Looks like we're right where we're supposed to be in the sky. Although the donut shows we're not in the right spot, we're close. And now we're also picking up glide slope. So we're picking up localizer and glide slope. We're going to get some help from the airplane now. And I'm going to hit the approach button. There we go. There's approach. And that's going to center us up on the localizer and snag the glide slope. You can tell localizer is green and in a box. We've got localizer. Glide slope is blue. Blue means it's armed. So it's all set and ready to go. If you're like me and you tend to get kind of comfortable in your chair, now's the time to sit up. If you've got rudder pedals, now's the time to gently put your feet on the rudder pedals to be ready to take control from the autopilot and do that airplane thing. We are 12 miles from the runway. We are right where we're supposed to be altitude-wise. We're supposed to be above 3,000 feet, which is good. That's because there's probably hills there and maybe people that live down there, so we don't want to go crashing into them. Talk about a beautiful day to fly. There's a little bit of our tailwind. Okay, last click of the map, 10-mile map. There's the airport on 10-mile finals. Here comes glide slope. Generally, you're going to have the approach probably tell you to maintain 180 knots until Foxtrot India 34. Basically, they're saying maintain this kind of a speed until you're 7 to 5 miles from the runway. And that way they can keep the traffic kind of flowing on in. So that's why it is that I haven't dropped the gear and why I haven't gone and done my speed yet. We'll do that almost immediately. In 1.4 miles, as a matter of fact. And we're going to look down here, performance page. If we're in approach mode, if we're not, the airplane usually switches that. If not, you may have to hit, it's going to be in amber or gold. You just have to confirm to go into approach mode. And there we are. There is FI 34. This would be the point where we'd slow down. So we're going to go manage speed for landing. And landing gear can go down. There goes our landing gear. Time for a last cup of coffee. Look down here. Can we do another notch of flaps? Yes, we can. Flaps 3. And as we come down to the F for full flaps, we can do full flaps. Flap lever in the Thrustmaster flap lever, you would calibrate that alongside the throttles. And I've got to tell you, it works. I've been very happy with it. And now we can do the landing checklist. Cabin crew has been alerted. Auto throttle is good. Auto brakes are as required. The ECAM memo is green. Landing checklist is done. With an airplane this complex, those checklists are simple, but oh my gosh, you don't forget stuff, and that's just really, really helpful. Okay, seated back here, if you've got a nice chair, make sure that the chair does not, if there's a tilt back, make sure it's locked. Otherwise, you go and you start pushing the rudder pedals, you're going to tilt over just as you want to be landing. Yes, it has happened. Yes, it happened on live stream. Of course it was embarrassing. I do hope that this has helped. I hope that you are having as much fun with this airplane as I do. I'm into flight simulation because if it hadn't been for glasses, I would have hoped for a career flying airplanes like this. But at the time that I could have started a career, they didn't accept people that were nearsighted. Now, of course, there is a need for pilots, and if you are young and playing with this and thinking about a career in aviation, spending time playing with flight simulators is an incredibly good thing for you to do. It's been shown that this helps you be a better pilot in the real world. I think that the airplane's had enough fun. Shall we do autopilot off? AP is off. Okay, it's going to go ahead and you're going to have to silence the warning there. I suggest setting that up as a button on your joystick. Going down a little fast.
200. Minimum.
Continue.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. 5.
Reverse. We're doing just reverse idle. Maybe a little more reverse. There's our high speed. And off on the high speed. Flaps up, speed brakes down. Welcome to Vienna. Landing lights off. More braking. Strobes. Okay, we are off the runway. Let's go over here to Delta, and that'll take us to our gate. If you get the chance, especially if you're going to be in a VATSIM event, I really like to suggest that you Take the time before the flight and get to know your airports. It's really important to do that. Okay, let's open the flap. See, it looks like I've got autopilot off, so it wants you to come down here and clear that. Everything's good here. Nothing really to do with that. I think the flap should be open. Let's go ahead and start up the old APU. Coming on in here. So there is Delta. We're going to come in. Actually, yeah, let's kind of come in this way. And we're coming in on the other side of that long terminal there. You see a couple of airplanes set up here. There's static airplanes and stuff. One of the things I do like to suggest to developers for scenery is, if you possibly could, give us an option to turn off static, especially if you're in a VATSIM event. Those airplanes are in the way of a VATSIM event. Okay, so we're going to come in over there. We'll do... Oh, this is a perfect... This is good. There's going to have... Now let's do the next one. Sometimes it's hard to see which one's the better one to do. Then after that, parking stands. You don't have moving map on parking stands, but we're coming in right over here. We're just at thrust idle at the moment. One of the things that the airlines will do is they will do a... one-engine taxis, and there's actually a procedure for that in this airplane. I used to have it printed off somewhere. So there's a small checklist for a one-engine taxi. Still feel like I'm over-controlling on the nose wheel tiller. So I'll turn that sensitivity down even more, I think. I'm not sure. It could be that airplane, we're supposed to go to Foxtrot 4. So you can see that there's a static airplane there. And you can see that there are several different ways that you can go on either side of all of this. So that's for traffic flow in this congested area. Okay, there is H98. It should be F4, F26. That doesn't look like it, but if you were on a VATSIM event and you were assigned that gate over there, you've got a static airplane in the way. That's the whole reason. So that's F16. Those numbers are really weird. There's F12, so all of a sudden it goes from F12 to F4. F4 is this one all the way in here. There's F8. Okay, so that's the way they're numbered. Okay, whatever. One of the other things that they don't have quite set up, and look at that, F4, perfect. So I slowed down just a little bit too much with my brakes, so I need to turn down the sensitivity there just a bit too. One of the things that Microsoft Flight Simulator doesn't have an awful lot of is gate guidance. Definitely think there needs to be some gate guidance things set up there. Especially now that we've got airplanes like this. And the real world Lufthansa doing the Frankfurt to Vienna flight would be parking at this gate. Now, if there is no gate guidance, so what do? I will usually come outside the airplane and I'll put myself relatively close to the jetway. So there are numbers here on the ground. I'm not sure what those numbers are. I bet if I read the airport guide over on my charts, I would know what those mean. But we're just going to go ahead and grab this one here. That's probably good. It's the tail of the airplane is out of the crew line, so that's probably good. Actually, maybe we could go to, let's try, that's pretty good for this jetway. So come on in here and we'll do parking brakes. Did I get the APU up? I did. We're going to turn on the bleed. Come on down here. Engine number 2. Engine number 1. We should have stopped squawking. So we're going to stop our squawking. That's pretty good. We'll come up here and we need to turn off seatbelts. So seatbelts are off. Beacon can go off. Nose light can go off. Disarm the emergency exit lights. And then we come on over here and you can see the jetway is coming out. Do we want to deboard the passengers? Yep, deboard the passengers. It gives us the opportunity to do that too. So it's going to open up the doors. It'll put the jetway out here eventually. The deboarding process, you'll see your cargo bays open. And there we go. Success. And that was not a truly awful landing. You can still see I'm kind of all over the runway. There's still a lot to learn. But this airplane is absolutely amazing. And my landing rate was a 246. I think for a jet, that's probably okay. I feel like the landing rate things here are a little bit over dramatic and stuff. But you know what? I think that that was probably a decent enough landing for me to feel good about going and having another cup of coffee. I'm going to log this flight for sure in terms of Sim Toolkit Pro. So you can see one of my first ones was a 500. There's a 300. So there you go. We made it up. You can see the cargo bays are open. And if we decide to hop on in here, there is a shutdown procedure that we probably should go through. We'll come over here, and we're not going to do the whole shutdown procedure, but we can come over here to ground services, and what other things could we do? So some doors are open here, aft stairs, everything's pretty good. I think at this point the passengers are getting off, and we're going to call it a complete flight. Now, you see where it says import next flight? Now it's time for the return flight to Frankfurt. How about it? I hope you're enjoying this airplane as much as I am. My hat's off to the developer, Fenix. Fenix had an incredible rollout for this airplane. For me, it worked great. I know it didn't work great for everybody, but for other people it did, and this is the airplane that I have been waiting for Microsoft Flight Simulator right now. It's that level of depth. There's so much to learn about this airplane, and I really hope that you are having as much fun with this airplane as I am. As always about these videos that I do over here on YouTube, it's not about the right way versus the wrong way. This is how I, as a real-world private pilot and a flight simmer with a lot of years of flight simming, this is what works for me, and I hope that by sharing, it's what works for you. I am relatively new here on YouTube, so I still read all the questions in the comments, and I really would like to hear from you. And what next would you like to see here on YouTube? If I did something wrong, I read those comments and appreciate them too. And if you've got a suggestion for a YouTube video, please let me know. I do want to invite you to come on over and join the Spy Flight over on Twitch. There are a lot of, again, really, really great people over there. It is a really nice community. It's a non-toxic community, and in the world today, I think that that's a really nice thing to have. I am new on YouTube, so if you like this video, I'm not monetized over here yet, but I really could use some support, and the best way to do that is to head on over to Twitch, where you could hit the sub button or some of the other buttons over there, and help me keep going here as I make this flight sim dream and live stream dream come true. And there you go. Thank you so much for flying along. I hope, again, you're having as much fun with this airplane as I am. And I will look forward to seeing you in the friendly skies again here on YouTube and even sooner on Twitch. As always, stay healthy, stay safe, and take care.